So let's move on to the another session. For this, I would feel privileged to invite Shri Dheeraj Rastogi, sir, currently serving as the Executive Vice President at GST Network. Shri Rastogi, sir, will gives his expertise on empowering data governance for the digital era, strategies for managing big data in a connected way. I request you, sir, to please come on the dais and give your presentation to the august audience.
Okay.
I request Gaurav, sir, to please kindly join with the dignitary on the dais.
Is also one of the speaker. उनका
कहाँ पे है यहाँ? It's our pleasure to introduce Shri Gaurav sir. He is the Executive Director and co-founder of Civic Data Lab as our esteemed speaker also for this session. Shri Gaurav has been at the forefront of utilizing data, technology, design and social science to enhance civic engagement in India. And sir will enlighten us on data for development sector-specific use cases. Thank you, sir, and very warm welcome to the dignitaries on the dais. First, I request Shri Dheeraj sir to please kindly give your presentation.
Yeah. So good afternoon, all of you. Actually, post lunch, talking about anything and actually about data, which itself doesn't have any, juice in it. So it's very difficult to hold. But anyway, we'll talk about how the data can be used for good governance and what should be the general parameters behind actually having the data integration and data sharing across the government departments and across the private and public partnership. Now, actually, if we about 10-15 years back, when the automation and computerization was in the nascent stage in most of the ministries and departments, so at that time, a feeling among all of them used to be that whatever data that we have, it is for our own purposes and nobody else has any business to deal with this data. So we should not be sharing it all across, and whatever we have, it is for our own purposes only. To some extent, it is true that it is for their own purposes, because whatever data has been collected, it has been collected from the perspective of their own particular business, and therefore it is more relevant and more meaningful to them. But once a data has been collected and the same data is required by somebody else or maybe some other government department, then it becomes that why should the citizen be sharing the same data again and again to each and every department. Now with this multiple sharing, there are 2-3 issues that emerge. One, whatever data that he is sharing, he may commit some error while feeding it again and again. And it may so happen that if his data gets leaked, then perhaps he doesn't know from where it has leaked. So it is better that it is collected at one place it has, the ministry or department, whosoever is the best suited, collects it, and it gets shared across all of them. As has emerged in the last 5-7 years, the data collected by one government department does not belong to that government department alone. It can be shared with the others, because it's a property of the Government of India, not of that particular department. But however, while sharing the data, some 2-3 principles have to be kept in mind. One is that the foremost that comes is that data understanding across both of them should be on the common ground. Otherwise, what happens is that one particular set of data which means something, or what was the purpose behind collection of that data, if it is used by the other department without understanding it or without understanding the data properly, then wrong conclusions follow, and as a result of wrong conclusion, the policy that emerges would 9 out of 10 situation will be it is a bad policy. So therefore, the primary need is that whatever data is collected, there should be a harmonization among the data set before it can be shared freely with the other department, so that using that harmonized key, they can also understand and can adopt the same meaning which is actually meant, so that whatever conclusions they draw in conclusion is a right and proper manner, and the policy that emerges is actually the correct policy, or maybe serves the intended purpose. Otherwise, the intended purpose may be something, while the result may come out to be different, because the data got interpreted in a different manner. Now, for that purpose, if I can give an example, is that before GST, there were VAT administrations all across country in all the states. Then the indirect taxes were also collected by the center in the form of central excise duty and service tax. And each of them had a different way of classifying a particular commodity. Some used to have a set of 90, 100 commodities for which they would collect the data, and rest would fall in the others. So what falls in others for one state would be falling in some other proper classification in some other state. And when they try to exchange the data, it would actually mean nothing. Then there would be some differences in unit of collection. So sometimes it is boxes. Box could be 1 foot by 1 foot. It could be of any other size. So unless that kind of harmonization in the collection as well as the meaning of data is there, it is difficult to see all the data across. For example, if you have a harmonized system of nomenclature of goods and services as has been adopted in GST, now it would make sense to all the, not only VAT administrations, the GST administration, it would all make sense for various other purposes, because the various controls or various the schemes, they would be suited specifically to a particular commodity. For example, if the electronic manufacture and import has to be given incentive, then one should actually be knowing what is the domestic production and what is the import. And having a HSN based classification, one can easily know as to how much is the production and how much is the import. Otherwise, earlier used to be a survey based. There used to be 3 to 4 months of a survey, and the policy would come, say, after 6 months, by the time the need of the industry has moved to somewhere else. So one point is that harmonization of data has to be there, and the common understanding between the various departments that actually share and use that data. The other thing that I could would say in a good governance or maybe best practice would be to have a two-way communication. It should not be that if you collect data, one of the departments take data, but it doesn't give anything in return. Because the return communication helps both, not only to refine, but also to draw certain conclusions. If I can give an example is that, for example, we are in GST facing a major problem of impersonation. So it happens that identity documents of somebody else are getting used to take a registration in GST. So I normally obtain data from others. And I find that many times a person who is coming to take a registration in some other direct benefit scheme or subsidy schemes, they are before the government saying that we are very poor and we need your help. But when it comes to GST, the same person or the maybe same identity person is projecting that he is going to do business worth crores. Now, how both of them could be correct? So either one of the declaration, either before me or before the other department while seeking the direct benefit transfers is a faulty. So if I don't have the two-way communication, either both will suffer or at least one will definitely suffer. So two-way communication is very important not only for system integrity but also maintaining the single source of truth. The department who is supposed to have the primary owner, he should always be treated as the person who will make any correction in data, and unless that correction in data is made at the source, whosoever is dealing with that data in the downstream has no business to modify the data. Otherwise, we will have the same situation that hundreds of streams flowing together and each one is having, though the source was originally same, but now so many streams have come up and each one is having his own data. That is quite avoidable situation, which I think should be avoided while dealing with data in the good governance system. Now, why we should have it? It actually helps in not only improving the efficiency of the government departments, or maybe the whosoever has the data, if they can best tailor the policy according to that data. And if the example can be given, for example, if the direct taxes and indirect taxes data till about last 10 years back, they never used to exchange. So the persons who were actually paying income tax, they would be missing from the GST or maybe the indirect tax. And actually, if you see, the indirect tax is the mother of evasion of all the other taxes. So if the indirect tax is evaded on a particular transaction, it gets reported nowhere else. In the last 5 years, when the data exchange has started happening, it has mutually helped each other. So not only there is a growth in GST, the growth in income tax is also in double digits. For the simple reason that whatever is reported, it has to be reported at the income tax also. And there can be no two interpretation of the same data, that for example, for one government department you are telling that this transaction is pertaining to interest, but when it comes to the other department, you tell no, it's not interest, it is something else. So those kind of efficiencies, they can be easily brought about by simple having the automation and the data exchange protocols. Another important thing that has to be kept in mind is the holistic approach has to be adopted, because holistic approach would mean that whatever data is there, it should be adopted for the best interest of the overall interest of the government. It should be not that if it is in my interest, then I will utilize it, and otherwise I will not and I will not tell anything in response. Now, how this thing can be useful, having a data in one place or maybe the exchange of data. The best example that I have often cited is actually the crisis management situations. When you have very little resources and you have to do speedily the action. For example, the COVID-19 times, and there were a lot of supply constraints of the oxygen, of the medicine. The only data high frequency that was available was the electronic waybill data available with the GST, and it could be very effectively used to rationalize the supplies all across. Otherwise, it would have happened in one region is having an supply in excess, whereas the other region is not having it at all. So that is one, but there are certain safeguards also that I would say that have to be managed, that have to be put in place. One is that data safety and integrity is the prime importance, and any personally identifiable data definitely should not be leaked out. And maybe I think if anything which doesn't involve the sharing of personally identifiable data between the two departments, unless the situation so demands, like it's an investigation case, or maybe some corruption, or maybe some case where some prosecution is dependent on it. So there the personally identifiable data can be shared and should be shared, but not in the other situations, because it will ultimately lead to some phishing exercise which will ultimately not benefit anybody. The other thing is that the intended use for which data is taken from the any of the government department or any other partner, it should be used for that intended purpose only, rather than assuming that it has come to me, so I can use it for any other purpose. That is, first of all, not ethically right also. The other situation could be it could lead you in a serious legal consequences. But where whatever thing you are doing, you can base entire thing on that, but ultimately whatever case you have made out, it may fall to naught because you have not taken the permission from the data owner to use that data in that manner. The third thing is that one should be careful about is parting the data. So if the data has been taken from some partner in a particular understanding and for a particular purpose, it should not be passed on to somebody else without involving him and without his consent. So these are the three safeguards that I would suggest should be there, and I think the having a good platform where everybody can exchange is a good concept and should be used. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shri Dheeraj Rastogi sir, for navigating us about the financial management. Thank you so much.